It is April 5th, 2025. We're here in the back of the property located at 9585 Candida Street in San Diego, California, 92126. We've got an area drain that's not functioning well, so we're going to inspect and see if we can see anything with the camera. We do have some standing water. We can see already right here. We can see a little bit of chunky debris. Let's see if we have any kind of visual. Let's see, we immediately can't get the camera to look or go through anything. So whether we've got, let's see if we pull out the camera. So at the end of the camera, you can see all this black sludge. It's probably just dirt and stuff, but that's all on the beginning of the line already, where it's not allowing the camera to force through. So we're going to pause the video for a second, use a special pan and tilt and maybe a vacuum, see if we can clean out the opening to try to get an initial view. Okay, so the camera's back in the drain. We looked with the pan and tilt camera. We didn't see anything collapsed or broken. It was just a harsh angle from the vertical to the horizontal. So on the bottom left of the screen, you can see we're actually pushing through distance-wise. The screen is just black because we're not seeing anything. The camera's got sludge, mud, and dirt in front of it. But we've already traveled about 15 feet. There we go. Got a little bit of visual right now. So there's a T-junction right there. That should be the intersection of the other drain before you come through the gate. In the very back, more towards the right side. So that's got to be what that opening is there. Let's continue past that. Looks like it's still open to this point. Just got a lot of stuff on the bottom, but that's not a problem for drainage. A little thicker right here. Got debris again clogging most of it, so we can't see much. There we go. Losing our vision almost completely. There we go. Here's probably the turn on the line. There we go. So we can see right here, we came out of that straight pipe. Looks like this should be the turn on the line. It looks to be a T-junction because when we come through here, you can see it looks like it goes in both directions. We kind of look here because it's actually to the opening to the left and then going that way. So they may have used a Y fitting. So we're going to go ahead and leave the camera right here because we're hitting this wall anyway right here of this combination T/Y fitting. So we're going to locate exactly where this is at because it's certainly going to be under the green grass that's there, and that may not be able to lift up. We don't know if it's glued down or not, but we'll just see where it's at, see if we can lift up and see if there's another entry point for an area drain or even a quote-unquote clean-out access, same thing over in this corner. If not, and we can't make this turn, then we'll try to come from the long way and check another square box and see if that's another access by the initial metal gate. So we're going to pause the video. Okay, so we've gone ahead and located the pipe. So the bottom of this pipe is 1 feet 8 inches deep. So it's about the same depth approximately that the starting point is, not much more. The area that it's at is in the middle of the grass, synthetic grass, and it is actually just before the actual corner of the building. So where our camera is sitting, it's not far enough where right here it was making an immediate 90, it would actually hit the building edge. So it has to go a little bit further. So we think that this turn right here, the way they laid it out, it must continue past this. So that, again, the drain on the left must be another one that dumps in, or could, again, be, if it's an opening of some type, used as a quote-unquote clean-out. But this is all covered. So we have all the synthetic grass, and it is nailed and glued down, of course, for the safety of the children. So we can't pull this up. So that other T-junction, no matter which way it goes, is not going to help us to try to get another opening possibly. But we put some discs on the ground denoting this exact junction right here, this spot. So we'll take an image of this with the camera once we pull it out. So we're going to try to run the camera through kind of quick here to try to see if we can get by this little wall and make us continue downstream, hopefully. If not, then we'll try to put another camera in, see if we can help maneuver past this. So, let's see if we can... Now, looks like we're going the wrong direction. So, you can see here, it looks like we made that left turn the way that Y fitting was laid, and we're actually hugging to the top of the pipe because there's a lot of dirt and silt and sand built up. So here we're coming back in reverse, back down. Yeah, that's exactly what we did. So let's leave this camera right here. We're going to pause the video for a second. We're going to try to put down a second camera, see if we can steer by this area and either get the other camera or this one to maneuver once there's a second camera laying in the same position to help maneuver and not force it to the left. We need to force it to the right. Okay, so we tried our first pan and tilt camera. It wouldn't get all the way down to the 40-foot mark. And then we have a second camera in right now. We did get to that Y junction, but we've lost vision on both cameras, so we have nothing to see. You see the screen's black. So right now, we turned on the water. We have a garden hose dumping into this area drain. We're going to see if it starts to clear out as it runs hopefully down to this junction. We can get kind of a vision of everything that's going on. So we're running water, and we are able now to push this camera a little further. So we're thinking that we probably got this camera with the other one in the way and the running water. We're now able to go downstream. So we're pushing here as much as we can to see how far we can get. We don't have anything on the screen right now. Again, it's kind of coming and going because of all the dirt and mud on the bottom. It's caking up on the lens. So we got out about 75 feet right now. We cannot see any further. We're moving our other camera as we're talking here. We can see that we did get past that junction. We're just moving this other camera to see where we're at. So, okay, here we go. So we did make it past that Y junction. We're verifying this with the pan and tilt camera that we have in there. We finally got our view back with the running water. So the running water is running to this corner fine. So there's nothing wrong with the pipe from here to that T junction and then the eventual quick 90 turn to then turn around the building and head essentially along the length of the building back towards the street. So, but at 75 feet, the particular camera we're running right now can't travel any further. We're going to keep trying though, but part of the issue with the cameras from here is that the entry point is a T-junction, it's not a sweep, so we can't put in a really stiff push rod because after just a foot down, it has to make a 90. So we are able to go, we've got about another 10 feet. We are traveling. The water has not completely backed or built up inside the back of the building yet, but certainly with a heavy rain, we can understand it may not keep up. So we're about 88 feet out. And as you can see on the bottom left of the video counter, it might show up on the recording here, but definitely having a hard time getting past this point. We still have no visual. There we go. Some of the water has finally run free to clean off our lens. We have basically standing water in there, which is going to be pretty typical with area drains. Area drains don't have downhill slope like sewer pipes do, and so they become very problematic with letting the little bit of stuff that does get down into there pushed out with the water. It settles in the bottom of the pipe. So basically right here where we're at, let me back up our other camera. We want to get a view of what's happening here with the waters building up or draining out cleanly. So you can see that we have a visual right now, and the water is just kind of stagnant. It's not really going anywhere. We're trying to back up our other camera to see if the water is filling up here, which it may be in the line. Yeah, we don't have a visual now. I think we're starting to back up on the system with water. Looks like that's the case. So it's not flowing, but at about this 88-foot mark, we got to that point. We don't see an object there. It's probably upstream that there's more debris in as well. It's just also a combination. The camera can't push farther because of the style that we're only able to push down in there. So you can see there's little floaties. It's open there, but it's not draining. So we're going to shut the water off. We're going to pause the video and locate to see where we're at. And we're going to see if we have any water coming out by the street, the little entry point past the sidewalk, if water is at least starting to flow out of there at any type of pace. Okay, so we've gone ahead and located where we're at here at about this 88-foot mark approximately with this camera, and you can see we're underwater. We did go out to the street, and the little drain outlet that is on the right side of the building in line with this pipe coming off the right side of the building is in fact where the area drain empties into the street. And there's a little bit of water flowing out from there, not much, but it is coming. We ran a lot of water with the hose. We are getting a little bit of a stream to at least signify this is in fact where it's connected to. So at this distance we got out, along the right side of the building, we're a little bit more than half of the way from the back towards the front of that right side. So we're under the concrete right now where we located this, same depth of about 1 feet 8 inches deep, so about 22 inches deep to the bottom of the pipe. We're about 7-8 feet before you get to the little racetrack that's painted on the concrete. So when you first come through the little metal gate on that right side, you pass the little racetrack imprinted on the ground concrete. We're about 7 feet past that. We took some photos and marked where the pipe is, and we'll be sending that to the owner. But that's where we're at distance-wise. We then paced off from that point where this camera stopped to the street curb where it dumps out, and it's about 150 feet approximately left. So it should be mostly a straight line for the most part. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and run our cleaning cable, since we know we were able to get through from here to this point relatively smooth with the camera moving. And so we're going to clean out the other section before we even put a camera down, because we know that there's buildup in there. So we're going to keep the water running, and then we're going to go ahead and snake that out with a large 7/8 inch sectional cable, and then see if we can get the water flowing pretty good. Now, if we hit some big hang-ups because the pipe is collapsed or broken, or even possibly roots or rocks, whatever the case is, then we're going to have to stop snaking. We'll try to camera it, but in that case, then it's going to require a trailer jetter to come out and try to go from the street, push back in, and drag any debris and try to create an opening again. And then we can visually see, once that's done, if there is a true problem with the pipe that's going to have to be dug up and repaired under some part of the path. So for right now, we're going to go ahead and pause the video. We're going to go ahead and pull these cameras out, and we're going to move over to the street side, since we at least know from the back to this halfway of the side here is essentially open and intact. It's just not draining, so we need to work for the last 150 foot out of the straightaways. So we'll go ahead and pause here. Okay, so we started to pull back our camera to move all our equipment, and we do want to show this, so we started the recording again before we go back to the street, because as we come through that turn, eventually here, we have to start to get visual again of the pipes. We just want to show this. We've got a little bit of water running. Let's just show this again. So we had a better vision a minute ago. There we go. So it kind of has the water going by. There we go. So you can see we're about 25 feet out, and it doesn't look like corrugated pipe. It looks like black ABS. And so you can see there's water flowing through the system there. And the line is relatively clean and open. So we'll slowly push forward again. A little bit of water building up right there, as you can see. But again, it is moving. So we just wanted to show that this line here is pretty clean overall. A little bit of debris. There's that T-junction for the other one in the back here. So that white T-junction is the other area drain when you come back towards the back here, about 22 feet away, you can see approximately. So now we're just coming back along the back of the unit here. And you can see again, this pipe is kind of nice and clean and overall open. Our camera and the water might have moved a lot of this little sludgy debris that was in there initially out, just gently enough. So here we go, we're now out Here, wipe off our camera lens. So again, we came from this one here. There's the back side. Past this gate, about 10 feet is that other one. And then when you get to the green synthetic grass far ahead, that's where it makes that right turn. And again, we traveled quite a ways down there, so the camera wouldn't budge anymore. So now we'll pause and move over to the street side with our snaking equipment to start. Okay, so we moved over to the curb here. We went ahead and snaked it with our large two-sided cutter there and 7/8" cable. When we first went through this, you can see it's been saw cut. They must have had to repair this pipe at one time. There is the grate over here right through the entrance, and that grate dumps to this drain because our drain cable here came up through and into the grate there. So we know that that line's cleared. So there must be a Y or a T junction here on the line. When we were cabling it, we pulled out a few leaves, a little empty snail shell here, and then the water actually stopped coming, and it was backed up in the drain in the very back, so we had to shut off this faucet hose bib we were running. So we're now going to go inside this line. You can see it's going to be underwater, so that's part of our problem in general, but we need to try to see if we can see the T-junction at some point to steer our cable to go downstream towards the back of the property on the right side rather than at the actual drain that's got the large steel grate that is coming through the parking lot. So we traveled 30 feet and that puts us into the grate. So we'll see in the next few feet if we're coming up to the T. Okay, there's a bunch of roots right there and debris. Okay, there you go. We can see tons of debris right there. You can see in the line. See, it's just completely solid. There's some leaves. And it looks like that's the grate. So what we're staring at right here is actually that steel grate. So we were not in the pipe anymore. There you go. There's that grate and the concrete lid that it empties into. So we need, as we pull back through here, you can see there we're coming back straight onto there. There is a turn or a T that picks up. We're going to have to try to see if we come back where that other line is dumping to. Because we definitely had water coming out of this, and it's connected to the back, but how it's dumping in over to there, we don't know. So we're underwater here. Even if we lift our camera up out of there, I don't think we're going to see much. So we're going to look in that steel grate in the driveway and see if somehow it drains into there. If it doesn't, then this is a straight pipe that has, again, a Y turn, just like when we saw in the back. And unfortunately, our camera and cable are steering to the left instead of going more towards the right. So we're going to leave our camera here for a second, and we're going to go look at that grate, see if there's another entry point. Maybe that's where the line from the back dumps into. They meet there and then run back out. Okay, so unfortunately, that steel grate that's there right at the beginning of the driveway past the entry point to the right there only has one pipe in it, and that is the one that leads out to here. We had water running through this pipe when we started running the hose before, so we know this is connected to the other one. The problem we have is that, just like the whole area drain, it kind of holds water. We need to see if we can find the spot, if it does in fact have a T or a Y that we're just steering through in the wrong direction. But it's moving through this so clean and so smooth. What's that? No, just debris. There's some debris right there. Trying to go really slow to see if we bind or catch at anything, meaning the T, but as far as many feet as we're in, it's just moving way too smooth. But there's got to be a point that they come together or enter, but unfortunately from the backyard. We cannot get a camera out to here. Here we go. Yeah, we're right back to the drain grate. So we're not going to be able to get rid of that water that's in there to get a visual, and we can't push further from the back, and there's no other entry points from the back as it's headed this way. So essentially, until this drains out again, we wouldn't have a capability. Even if it drains out over the next few days, it may take forever for a lot of the water to completely dissipate to give us a visual is the problem. Because at some point, a lot of these drains, again, they're just flat horizontal, they go uphill. They don't have all downhill slopes, so they can always hold water sometimes. So yeah, it moves through this thing very, very smooth, as if it is a one section right over to there, and we're coming back out again. Here we go, we're back out to the curb. So it's just under too much water. We do still have water flowing down the street, so we do know that it's getting into the system, and no water is going into that grate. So whether it's coming from the side, the top, or just the perfect angle, we cannot see or get our camera to go that other direction, which is prohibiting us from snaking it today to try to get it more cleared out. So what I am going to do is try to run the cable again by running it in a clockwise direction with a smaller bit, and see if we can get it to maybe jump and go the path. Oh, what's this here? Oh, that's the roots or other build up there. Oh, that even could be our T-junction. It's possible. We're about 14 feet in. Yeah, there's a little catch right there. Not much, but a little. Alright, well, we're going to go ahead and pause the video. We're going to go ahead and try running our cable in a direction that hopefully steers it to the right as we're propelling it forward, and see if it will follow, if there is in fact a path that we can get to continue upstream. If not, then the only possibility is they're going to have to use a trailer jetter from the back. He can try from the front, see if he can get lucky to steer, but if not, he's going to have to go all the way from the back and push all the way through here a couple hundred feet to then clear it out and get it opened up better than what we can from curbside. So we'll go ahead and pause here. Okay, so we were able to get our cable by turning it clockwise only to travel, and we able to get it past the concrete grate drain here in the opening of the driveway. So we got it to go straight through or jump over that little T-junction. It's at about 14 feet, just like we thought with the camera last. We were able to steer by it, and we kept going. We did not end up in the grate. We got out 31 feet, so we have two of these sectional cables out. We pulled it back about a foot or two here just to get the exact distance. So on the right side here, when you pull in, are 5 parking spaces. We got past the first 2 parking spaces and just into the third. That's the distance we could go. At that distance of this 31 feet from this opening, we are hitting a full-on dead end. Whether it is some type of collection box, whether it's a turn, whether it is a broken collapsed pipe, or whether it is just solid full of roots, a heavy rock, just don't know. Now, we haven't pulled the cable back out in full to see if there's any evidence of it shining or any debris on there, because we want to leave the cable in to see if this other camera can travel along it and maybe get lucky somehow, a little unlikely, and steer through there. So, still have water running out to the street from everything that was backed up that we ran. So, again, it is connected. Okay, we just passed that 14-foot mark. Don't know if we're going to end up in the driveway concrete steel grate area or not. Yeah, we did, unfortunately. Yeah, the camera is just by push. It's not turning, so there's no way to get it to travel the right direction. So we're able to get the cable to skip over that area, but we cannot get the camera to do that. It's just impossible. So basically at this point, we've got water running, but it is not draining good, and our cable is stopping. So the last thing that we're going to go ahead and do today before we leave is give one more attempt with a smaller cutting bit on the end of this. If that won't pass and break up whatever's there or get past this 31-foot mark, then yes, unfortunately a trailer jetter is going to have to come out. They can first try from the street and see if they're able to steer it and get over and then blow through that area. If they can't, then they're going to have to go from the back where we started, travel all the way and see if they get hung up at the same area or can blow through it from the opposite direction. If they can't, then we're going to have to dig up that area. So we basically will give this one more attempt with snaking with a little bit smaller cutting bit to see if it can sneak by that area. And other than that, then that's all we can do for today. Okay, so some good news. We were able to get our cable through. We put a single-sided small cutting bit through, and we were able to get out past that 31-foot mark, and then we traveled for another 64 feet. So we have a little shy of 100 feet of cable inside the line right now. You can see the water that is coming out of the system here. They're really decently little good clip. Not super fast, but it is streaming out of here on a constant basis because we've had the garden hose running in the back solid. Now, we just went to the back. We've been working on this for a while, and it is filled up a little bit on the first drain, so it's not keeping up with the garden hose, so it's not going to keep up with rain. Now, when we pull this cable out, we'll see what's on there. We're going to leave recording as we pull this back in reverse across the street. But essentially, the good news is that the line seems to be intact, and that basically, I think just due to not having downhill slope and have mud and dirt and leaves and other debris jammed up in there, it just needs to be hydrojetted. So from here, I need to travel about that 150 feet, maybe just go the full 200 to the end. But anyway, they need to drag all that stuff out that may be accumulated in the line that's mounding up or damming up and slowing the water from running at a good continuous clip or stream, because the cable is not going to remove that debris when it's sand, silt, mud, dirt. It's just going to shift it and flail it around, but it's not going to extract it. The hydrojetter with their nozzles will actually pull that as they're coming back in reverse with their propel jets. When they're pulling it backwards, it'll drag all that out. So that's the only way to get this to try to flow any better. They'll start from the curb. They're going to need to be careful again at about the 14, 15 mark. Make sure they don't make that left turn into the area drain grate. Then at about 31 foot from here, there's another little glitchy thing that at least our double-sided cutter wouldn't go through. And then from there, we've had generally clear sailing. Now, it's hard to kind of get this pushed out, but we were able to get it all the way out this 95 feet. So we're going to leave this recording. We're going to pull this cable out as we literally drag it across the street here. You'll see it coming in reverse. And the last step is going to be to jet it. So at least it doesn't look like it has to be dug up. It appears to be a solid, intact line. And to get it flowing better, that's all that's going to need to be the last step at this point. From this curb out to 150, it might as well just go 200 feet to be safe and drag everything out. So we're now going to pull this cable out, reverse here across the street. Sorry, looks like our thing cut out there for a second. So this is the single-sided cutter bit we went through with our 7/8 inch sectional cable. And so basically we've done everything we could at this point with the camera, with locating, and with verifying the pipe integrity. So just need a hydrojetter now, and that should get it running better. That's the only thing we can do at this point. And even after the jetting, because it may be holding water, because it's an area drain, we may never have a complete visual on the line to look at the path of everything, but it can be attempted. So that concludes this recording.